Doopy doop doo wop doop doop wop wop. Doopy doop doo wop bop ba. All right. Happy Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that is the new intro in case you missed it on Sunday. Shout out to Scott for that one. Did a really great job. But welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. Shout out to everyone that's watching on YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter. And welcome back. It is the beginning of the week, and we have quite a bit to discuss. Some stories I was not expecting to discuss tonight, but we're going to have to go there. But it seems like we have been on the right path. We have been calling a lot of these things out. We have been making a lot of predictions. And I think tonight you're going to see some of those things coming into fruition, right? So tonight's theme is shit hit the fan. And I don't think pardon my language for those of you, that language sensitive. I don't think I've used that expression on this show as a theme, but it kind of fits like just all these stories. So first and foremost, I want to give shout outs to people in the chat, ladies and gents. What is going on, fam? Like I said, it's a crazy week. It's hard to keep up with the stuff every other day, it seems like. Shout out to Sherry. He says, at Wali Rashid, brilliant reporting. I will check him out. Greetings, Palestine, not Israel. Sabby asked Scott about the status of both Ben Gvir and Benjamin Milikowski. Yeah, Scott had to reschedule. That's why I did change the thumbnail and everything. But Scott's really busy, and I was grateful that he would try to make it tonight, but he does have a lot of things going on. But he's going to reschedule. But I am going to mention that because when we get to the Iran war story, there are some things that have not been confirmed, but I do have questions, just like you, right? Greetings, Blockbuster says, hi. Shout out to City Survivor says, be back in 3. Well, what's up? Greetings, Enemy of the Empire says, stay aware out there. I agree. Shout out to Fetish Magic says, what's Charlemagne doing in the thumbnail? You will see. Greetings, Danny says, Ben Gvir hit by a missile, dying in critical condition. Netanyahu Milikowski, brother killed in the same missile. Yeah, I haven't been able to find confirmation on that. I did see reports about it on social media, but I haven't found any confirmation just yet. Shout out to CBC Voter says, happy Tuesday, Sabby and Eric. Greetings, Brian said, Bree recently did a podcast with Aaron Good and Toneri Rose regarding Epstein in Israel, and it would be both a fantastic and consequential show if you had all three on together. That is a goal. That would be a goal of mine. We can try to see if that can happen. Thank you. Shout out to Measured Man says, LOL, I have too many windows open. LOL. Greetings, New York Varsity says, can't believe people are falling for the Iraqi playbook almost to the letter, except Iran is not Iraq. Yeah. Yeah. I've been noticing that. Greetings, E. Farron says Erika's assignment is a big mistake. Big mistake. Yeah, wait till we get into that story. Greetings, Chris says hello. Shout out to Mr. Moto says Iran has begun laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to get into that tonight, according to multiple reports citing U.S. intelligence sources. Yeah, we're going to get into it. Shout out to Hannah says, let's get it. Greetings, Salma said Pete Hegseth has kafar tattoo. Kafir means deceiver in Arabic and biblical Hebrew. In Christianity, it is Antichrist. Yeah, I've heard about that tattoo of his. Greetings, James. I think that Iran may destroy BB's land. Hey, didn't we try to warn you guys? We told you it was coming. Shout out to Ellen sends love. Greetings, James says apparently BB had thrombosis. Shout out to Steinbar says, hi, Sabby, your show is the best. Thank you so much. Greetings, Ellen sends a thumbs up. Shout out to Kimi says, Sabby is short for Sabitha. These are facts. Argue with the science. Interesting. Shout out to Lady Alex says, I use 666 in many of my passwords. Okay. And greetings to Randy. Is everybody ready to riot in revolution? Make it like it's 1917. Now that World War III is well underway. Love you, Sabby. Yeah, there's a lot of things to get into, ladies and gents. I hope you guys are enjoying the weather. If you're on the East Coast, today was warm and beautiful. It's nice to see the snow just melt away, because I'm good on winter. I'm good on it. Good on it. Not going to miss it. Not at all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and give a shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you guys so much for your support. Really do appreciate you around here, fam. If you are interested in being a Sabby patron, I have 5 categories. The ultimate. Don't forget about the Sabinators. I think they're a cool bunch as well. We have Sabsters. What's up? What's up? What's up? Greetings to the Sabbies. Hello. And of course, last but not least, we also have members. All of their names are listed here. And we can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen there on the ticker throughout the show. Yeah. And I want to give a shout out to new Sabby patrons. We call them newbies. Let's give it up for Bella, Pam, and Denise Marguerite. All pretty names. Beautiful names. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, ready for winter to be over. I'm tired of shoveling. I'll tell you guys, though, if you want to get a good workout and maybe you're not trying to intentionally work out, shovel snow. Shovel snow. That is a workout within itself, ladies and gents. Okay, let's go ahead and show you that thumbnail so you can see what we are discussing tonight. Like I said, the theme is shit hit the fan, because that's where we're at now. There was no other way I could really put it. So tonight we are discussing shit just got real. Yes, you'll see Donald Trump there. There's Vladimir Putin. And of course, there's the Iranian foreign minister. It's not looking good for the U.S. and Israel, folks. Despite what people have been telling you, despite what Donald Trump is telling you, despite what, of course, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is saying to you as well, it is not looking good for the U.S. and Israel. And I think that both of them bit off more than they could chew. Iran has weapons for days, and I think they're showing that to people. So we're going to get into the big announcement that they just made about the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to talk about that and how that could impact us as well. And everything else that has happened in the past 24 hours, ladies and gents. Is Donald Trump starting to cave? We're also going to discuss, we have a new Epstein update that is very shocking about what happened after he died, what the FBI was trying to do, and this connection to the Alexander brothers, which were just found guilty. So again, we're seeing all the connections here, folks. We're talking about that tonight. Speaking of connections, we're also discussing, there was a recent announcement made about Erika Kirk, And I'm just going to say, we told you it was coming, right? We told you it was coming. Big announcement from Donald Trump about Erika Kirk. And what does this mean for 2028 as well? I don't know. But there's some people putting things out into the ether that they are alluding to that Erika could become either a running mate for 2028 or some type of politician in the near future. So we got to get into all of that. We're also going to discuss, this is an interesting story here about the Breakfast Club. One of the co-hosts of the Breakfast Club, Jess Hilarious, put out a video basically not being happy about this new contract that they signed with Netflix. I don't know if everyone is aware, but Netflix has basically decided to add podcasts to their platform. I don't know what that's about, but we're going to get into it and talk about why the Breakfast Club is now starting to sink numbers wise since they took this deal. Last but not least, I finally get to do it. I've been meaning to do a deep dive into the Rothschild family. And tonight, we're going to start that deep dive. Because when we talk about the Rothschilds, I'm not just talking about, their involvement in the Zionist project. I'm also talking about their wealth and how their wealth basically gave them power and shielded them from many, 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 many things. So this is a family that more people need to get into and talk about. So we have so much to say. Again, tonight's theme is Shit Hit the Fan, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a chance to do so, smash that like button. Thank you. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. Let's go ahead and get into it. I think we need to get into the Iran story first because it's so much to dive into. So, after all the bombing, Donald Trump made an announcement that he feels as though this war is pretty much over. There have been calls from the US and Israel to ask for a ceasefire, not the other way around. Iran is not the one asking for a ceasefire. It is the US and Israel that tried to make that happen. But what is really interesting is that this seemed to happen after the call from Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin contacted Donald Trump not about the Ukraine war, but about the Iran war. And then all of a sudden, Donald Trump made that statement at the press conference. Check this out. Trump has a call with Putin to discuss the Iran war. I hate these pop-ups. Here we go. President Donald Trump had a call Monday with Vladimir Putin to discuss the war in Iran and other issues. Putin's foreign affairs advisor, Yuri, described the conversation as frank and business-like. It lasted for about an hour. He said that Vladimir Putin voiced a few ideas aimed at a quick political and diplomatic settlement of the conflict following his conversations with Gulf leaders and Iran's president. So we do have to remember that Russia does have a relationship with Iran. They're seeing what's going on. The last thing we need is World War III. And Donald Trump, for whatever reason, tends to listen to Vladimir Putin. I wish I could have been a fly on that wall. It'd been interesting to hear that conversation. It goes on to say here, Trump offered his assessment of the developing situation. Yuri goes on to say, in the context of the ongoing U.S.-Israel operation, the two leaders had specific and useful exchange of views, and they touched on Venezuela in the context of the situation in the global oil market. Putin said earlier Monday that Russia has repeatedly warned that attempts to destabilize the situation in the Mideast will inevitably jeopardize the global energy market, raising prices and limiting supplies. Let's pause there for just a second. How many of you have noticed that the gas prices have gone up? I saw someone post a video about gas prices in California, and I saw $8. So if you're in California, let me know. Have you seen that? I don't know, but I've seen they've started to increase. Vladimir Putin emphasized that Moscow is a reliable energy supplier and will continue to supply oil and gas to countries that themselves are reliable partners, like those in Asia Pacific region, or Slovakia, or Hungary, or Eastern Europe. Moreover, Russia is increasing supplies to its reliable partners, Putin said. That would also mean Iran. He reiterated that Russia was diverting gas supplies from the European Union, where a full ban on Russian gas from 2027 was agreed, to other markets, but added that if European buyers change their mind, Moscow is ready to work with them. Then apparently after this phone call with Vladimir Putin, you'll go on to see here, Donald Trump decides to have this press conference and tell everybody that the war with Iran is complete. Let's get into this, folks. Yeah,
Any
buddy.
details here about exactly what he told CBS? What does soon mean?
Well, I guess that is open to interpretation, Romaine. What he suggested in this phone call with CBS was that this war is very complete, quote, pretty much, noting to CBS that they have no Navy, no communications, and they've got no Air Force, which, of course, were among eliminating those capabilities were among the objectives that Trump and others in his administration have laid out when it comes to this conflict. And, of course, he had previously suggested that this could last some 4 to 5 weeks. He told CBS that the U.S. is way ahead of that timeline. Now, of course, when we consider the objectives President Trump has laid out, regime change hasn't listed formally among them, but he has weighed in on the idea that the worst case scenario in this conflict would be if someone comes in to succeed the late Ayatollah, who was even worse than the previous one. Of course, we now know it is the Ayatollah's son, Mujtaba Khamenei, who has been noted or named the next supreme leader. And President Trump, in this interview with CBS, seemed not to like that development, suggesting that he actually has someone in line to replace him, though he wouldn't specify who that may be. Also interesting for oil markets, especially as we have seen a lot of volatility in that space, President Trump suggested in this interview that the U.S. is considering taking over the Strait of Hormuz, of course, the waterway where some 20% of oil and natural gas flows through. It is unclear what that means, how that might go beyond the assurances that President Trump already has provided in terms of offering insurance for vessels, even naval escorts, if necessary. So would that entail even more military action? It remains to be seen. I would note President Trump is scheduled to hold a news conference at 5:30 p.m. Eastern time from Doral in Florida, where he is currently.
And he did. That woman was talking really fast, right? So, and he did hold that news conference. So I want to go on and tell you guys, this idea of taking over the Strait of Hormuz is laughable at this point in time. We're going to go ahead and I'll get into the details about that. I don't think Iran is going to let that happen. But Donald Trump did have that press conference, and it's really interesting. Again, he's talking out both sides of his mouth. On one side, he's saying that this war is complete. He went on to tell people that Iran doesn't have any weapons, that they're all out. While he was having this press conference, Iran, I keep talking about Russia. Iran was still attacking Israel while he was having this press conference. So let's use common sense, shall we? If Iran was all out of weapons, then Iran would be the one begging for a ceasefire. Iran would be the one surrendering. They're not doing that because they're not all out of weapons. People need to understand that there are videos and pictures of people showing tunnels and tunnels and tunnels under Iran full of weapons that go on for miles. They're not done. The problem is those U.S. bases that Iran has hit in some of these other Gulf areas, some of them are beyond repair. They've already stated this. 2, Israel is getting hit very hard. Now, if you just watch Israeli media, you would never know that. They're not allowing people to show the full damage that Iran has done to Israel because they want the public to believe that they're winning, and they're really not. The other thing to think about, and I mentioned this before, is that don't forget the U.S. has given a lot of weapons to Ukraine. They've also, of course, given weapons to Israel. The United States doesn't have the stockpile of weapons that they used to have because of the ongoing war with Russia and Ukraine. Also, after October 7th, increasing supplies of weapons to Israel. So the reality is we're the ones that are falling short. We're the ones that are struggling at this point in time. I don't think that Donald Trump or Benjamin Netanyahu took this into consideration. I don't think they really realized that Iran, again, they were ready. They came ready. And it's the U.S. that seems to be trying to find a way to wiggle out of this. Sort of, kind of, though. Donald Trump says here, when he is questioned by a reporter during that press conference, You said the war is almost complete, but your war secretary says this is the beginning. Which is it? See, this is what I'm talking about.
Said the war is, quote, very complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it, and how long should Americans be prepared
Well, I think
for
you could
this war
say
to
it
last
both.
for?
It's the beginning. It's the beginning of building a new country, but they have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft equipment. It's all been blown up. They have no radar, they have no telecommunications, and they have no leadership.
So let's go ahead and debunk some of those, right? If Iran doesn't have any of those things, how are they still fighting back against Israel? How are they still sending retaliatory strikes to Israel? How are they still bombing U.S. bases? He goes on to say they don't have a leader. The new Ayatollah has already been appointed, which is Khamenei's son. So you went from one Khamenei to another Khamenei, and they thought they were getting rid of that. So just think about it. You see the way that they continue to sit up here and lie to the American people? Okay. It gets crazier from here, because I got to tell you. And if I'm hyped up, it's because like this is just unbelievable. He went on to then throw Jared Kushner. He's throwing him under the bus.
The situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And
uh-oh. So now Donald Trump is saying that he was told by Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, and of course he threw Marco Rubio's name in there as well, that they told him that Iran was going to attack us. So do you see how he's trying to pass the blame on to them as if he doesn't have a brain of his own? If I tell you the person that lives next door to you is going to punch you in the face tomorrow, but I don't have any proof they're going to punch you in the face tomorrow, are you just supposed to believe it? So this is Donald Trump trying to wash his hands of all of this. He very much so was involved. He's trying to pretend like he wasn't at the table. And it's just laughable at this point in time. Now, I want to talk about the shift that is happening. Shout out to Drop Site News because they've been reporting on this very heavily. Iran weighs a tactical shift in the Persian Gulf strikes while intensifying attacks on Israel. A senior Iranian official told Drop Site News that Tehran is considering scaling back some attacks on U.S. bases in Arab states while increasing strikes on Israel, arguing Iran has already achieved many of its tactical goals against U.S. military infrastructure. So do you guys see who's actually winning here? Now, Donald Trump and them will never admit this. They'll never tell you that Iran is actually winning. Doesn't go for their narrative. Possible shift in targeting. Iran's political and military leaders believe their ballistic missile and drone operations targeting U.S. bases and infrastructure have largely achieved their intended aim of degrading major radar systems and depleting stockpiles of interceptors. The official said Iran's leadership is reviewing whether to shift more of its operations towards Israeli targets in the coming days. This is a trend we are likely to observe over the course of the coming week in the ongoing conflict. And so you can see this here. Jeremy Skyhill covered this. Iran weighs tactical shift in Persian Gulf strikes while intensifying attacks on Israel. And that is exactly what I've been seeing happening according to like the video footage that's coming out of Iran, because Iran, unlike Israel, they're allowing journalists to see the damage that has been done to them, but also allowing journalists to see the damage that they have been doing in response as well. Let's all remember who started this. It was the U.S. and it was Israel. Iran didn't wake up one day and said, you know, screw you guys, I'm just going to start like attacking you. So these have been retaliatory strikes. Let's not forget that Israel and the United States have been killing civilians in Iran, just like in Gaza, right? So Iran is the one that's actually winning. And I want to show you just some of the destruction that has been done. This is interesting. So this account here said, this is our wonderful country, which has turned into an open war zone. He's talking about Israel for Iranian missiles because of Netanyahu's policy and his extremist group who brought all this destruction upon Israel and its citizens. It's not just Netanyahu and the extremist group. That ideology was there before Netanyahu was in power. But you guys can see the images here. Actually, it's bigger if I show you this way. Again, this is just some of the damage that has been done in Israel. Tel Aviv has been hit hard, and they really just don't want people to see this. And that's what I was talking about. Speaking of that, remember Smotrich? Remember this guy? He was the one that said the starvation in Gaza was justified. That's who this guy is. Well, check this out. Israel Smotrich says soldier son is wounded after attack near Lebanon. Because remember, Israel is also bombing Lebanon as well. They've been bombing Beirut, these residential areas there, going after civilians. Apparently, his son was wounded. So Lebanon, Hezbollah has been firing back. Like you can't continue to throw hands and not expect to get hands in return. This is the way I see it. So you see how karma works? Yeah. Another thing that is happening, and people are asking questions about this as well. There is a massive evacuation of diplomats in the Middle East. The U.S. is ordering additional diplomats to leave parts of the Middle East, with Turkey and Saudi Arabia now joining Bahrain, Kuwait, Baghdad, and Erbil under evacuation measures. That's coming from the Washington Post. Sections of the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh are unrecoverable after the suspected Iranian drone strike, including the CIA station located on the top floor. So you see this, U.S. orders more diplomats to leave the Middle East. Now, this could mean two different things. One thing, it could mean that they're about to go in with a nuclear attack, Israel and the United States. Or it could mean they're telling people to get the hell out of there because there's been too much damage that's been done. So that's what I was telling you. Some of those U.S. bases in the Gulf countries are not repairable. They're beyond repair. That's how hard Iran hit. And I would also say Iran hasn't even used the most powerful weapons that they have yet. People don't use those like right out the gate. Now, if it's the former, going in with a harder attack, that would make me wonder about this. Senator Blumenthal just commented about them moving towards deploying ground troops.
I emerged from this briefing as dissatisfied and angry, frankly, as I have from any past briefing in my 15 years in the Senate. I am left with more questions than answers, especially about the cost of the war. My questions have been unanswered, and I will demand answers because the American people deserve to know. And I guess I am most concerned about the threat to American lives of potentially deploying our sons and daughters on the ground in Iran. We seem to be on a path toward deploying American troops on the ground in Iran to accomplish any of the potential objectives here.
That's the part that people need to hear. So Senator Blumenthal is saying they're on a path to deploying ground troops to Iran. So this goes back to Trump's press conference where he says, oh, I think, the war is complete, but it still leaves this possibility that they may, like I said, it's one or two things, right? Either he's like, yo, we can't compete with this, or it's going to be, that's it, we're going to send in the ground troops. Essentially, they would be sending these soldiers to their death. That's where we would be at. because that would just be a disaster. Iran is huge. People have to remember there's parts of Iran that are flat. There's parts of Iran that is, mountainous. And let me tell you something. If any of you grew up in the mountains, you probably know this. Anything can come out of those mountains. You don't know what is waiting for you when you go into a mountainous environment. There could be traps any and everywhere. We are not prepared for that. So you don't know what you're going into when you're going into a mountainous area. Iran is huge.
And there is also, as disturbingly as anything else, the specter of active Russian aid to Iran, putting in danger American lives. Literally, Russia seems to be aiding our enemy actively and intensively with intelligence and perhaps with other means. And China also may be assisting.
But Russia and China are also your enemy, right? Like the US government doesn't like Russia or doesn't like China. So he's saying that like Russia is aiding the US enemy, but you consider Russia to be an enemy. Why would they help you? So it's like Russia's not a part of NATO. So this whole idea of policing the world and owning the world, Russia does not owe anything to you. You guys aren't friends. You're not homies. And they're not a part of NATO. But you expect them to help you. In the past, when Russia was considering joining NATO, this was under Bill Clinton, if I remember correctly, they were considering that. They were interested and open to becoming like this ally partner with the United States. That didn't happen. So it's hilarious to me that you expect people to come and help you that you're against. Now, speaking on those ground troops, check this out. About 140 U.S. troops have been wounded in the Iran war, including 8 severely. That's the statement coming from the Pentagon. Guys, I do not believe, and let me know how you feel about this, but I do not believe that there were only 6 U.S. soldiers that have been killed. Don't believe it. I believe it's more than that. And if it's that many wounded, I wonder how many have actually been killed. We may never get the full number here, but this is what they're sending people into. You guys can see some of the responses here. There's Benjamin Netanyahu step by step. You see this stepping on American caskets. This is essentially what we have. And all of these people like risking their lives for it. Now, let's get to the meaty of the day, because this is the alarm that they sounded on Tuesday. Iran's IRGC says any Arab or European country that expels Israeli and U.S. ambassadors will be granted full freedom of passage through the Strait of Hormuz, starting tomorrow, according to Iranian state media. And you can see they're sharing it here. And it was translated here so you guys can see it, that coming from Iran as well. So this is Iran playing chess. This is Iran saying to all the other countries, hey, if you guys expel the Israeli and U.S. ambassadors from your homeland, we'll make sure that you still have access to the Strait of Hormuz. You can still come get that oil. But for the U.S. and Israel, you are ass out. Why would they let the U.S. and Israel come through at this point in time, knowing damn well that they're killing their people, killing innocent kids at the schools? Why would they let them come through? You'd be a fool. This is the alarm that really shook things up. Like Donald Trump is not happy about this. Of course, UA Progressive says baller move. Some of Iran's conditions for a ceasefire: the removal of all unjust sanctions and the release of Iran's frozen assets, recognition of Iran's right to enrich uranium on its own soil, compensation for damages caused by the imposed war, the extradition of Iranian offenders abroad, and the end of media campaigns against Iran. 5, no attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon or Ansar Allah in Yemen. And 6, the dismantling of U.S. military bases in the region. This is Iran telling the U.S. government, get your bases out. I think that's a pretty solid list of demands, right? Get out of there. Get your bases out. So that brings me to this part. Now they are saying that, according to the U.S., that Iran is mining the Strait of Hormuz, that they've set up mine traps, I guess, to target anybody that's coming through there that they did not approve to come through, like the U.S. and Israel. Listen to this.
Scripps News senior international correspondent Jason Bellini is live from the ground force in the Middle East, in Israel. And Jason, there are reports that Iran may be or is already placing mines in the strait. What are your sources on the ground saying about that?
Those reports are just coming intel, and we know that the president on Truth Social saying, well, if that's true, then they need to be removed immediately. Perhaps easier said than done. I think the key point here when we're talking about the Strait of Hormuz is, one, it seems like it's suddenly dawned on everyone today, really, that the Strait of Hormuz is a very big deal. 20% of the world's oil goes through there, and you have economists and analysts saying, if this is cut off for too long, it could have major repercussions. It could lead to global economic depression, even at the far end of the extreme. So how do you stop it? Well, you have the Pentagon and Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon today saying, well, we're taking out Iran's Navy. The problem there is, what do you need to be able to put mines in the waters of the Gulf? What do you need? You can do that with small boats. What do you need to blow holes in the sides of oil tankers? You can do that with small boats. You don't need big ships to do that. So you could have an insurgency. And the point being that Iran, now they know that they've got leverage right here because it's causing so much pain economically to the United States, to voters in America, when you've got the Strait of Hormuz effectively blocked right now.
Yeah, it's like we all said, the gas prices are already increasing, right? So this move from Iran, that's a chess move. And can you blame them? Now, I have another one here also that I want to show you because there was controversy here about a vessel that was on fire in the Strait of Hormuz, and they're trying to figure out who that vessel belongs to.
International reporter Inez de la Catera in Jerusalem, MS Now senior national security reporter David Rode, and UAE-based correspondent Inzamam Rashid at the Strait of Hormuz. Inzamam, I'm going to start with you because I think you have a little news to break here, and I want to make sure we get to it before this briefing starts.
Yeah, good evening, Katie. A significant development this evening as Donald Trump says that this war is nearly over. That is not the feeling on the ground here in the Gulf, because over the last couple of hours or so, out in the Strait of Hormuz, around 20 miles in that direction, I've been seeing a vessel burning, fire coming out of a vessel over the last couple of hours. No idea why that is, whether it has been targeted by an Iranian missile, something that we've seen happen here in the Strait of Hormuz over the last week. That's not yet been confirmed, or which vessel it particularly is, but there has been a ship in the distance to the very entrance of the Strait of Hormuz that has been burning for the last couple of hours or so. Then to my left, just around the corner, we see dozens, if not hundreds, of vessels, tankers, cargo ships waiting further back so they are not targeted, waiting to get access to go through the Strait of Hormuz. This, what would be usually a very busy shipping passage, has for the last week or so been completely blocked, in control by the Iranian military. Not a single drop of oil allowed to get through, as the Iranians have put it. And they've been very clear that anyone that does try to pass through will be targeted. And that may be something that we've seen once again this evening, something we've seen regularly over the last week. But I think this.
In other words, to make a long story short, Iran has become Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. Iran said, "You shall not pass." I'm sorry. We got to put in a little bit of humor here, but that's actually what's happened. Like, they have said, "You shall not pass." And if you try to, it is now claimed that they're setting up mines in that area. So the people who are not supposed to be there are basically going to get blown to smithereens. Shit just hit the fan. Iran has leverage. They have something that we don't. Leverage. It matters. It matters when they have something that they know that we need, and their ability or choice to give it to us depends on if they meet these damn demands. And this is how demands come into action, right? You have to give some type of, if you have leverage and they're using it. So here we go.
It is really important as well, Katie, because whilst the military aggression still continues, not at the rate that we've seen initially, particularly across the Gulf, yes, in Iran and back to Israel, it's still pretty intense, but it feels like the shift of this war is coming to here. The focus of this war is shifting to here on the Strait of Hormuz militarily, but also we know full well that the economic impact of what's taking place here is being felt around the world.
The U.S. is.
It's being felt in the pocket. It's being felt in the pocket. I know, Last to Blast. I know. I know. I know. But it's being felt in the pocket. Everybody feels it at the pump. Now, I'm not sure how this would impact natural gas. I know some people have been asking about that too. I'm not certain about that. I will be interviewing Professor Richard Wolff later this week, and we're going to talk more about the oil and the gas situation and the cost to us.
Been targeting Iran's Navy, also targeting its missile depots. Why can the U.S. or why is the U.S. having such a hard time getting control of the Strait? What sort of assets does Iran have there?
Well, look, this is a very narrow waterway. We know that the geographical struggles that this plays in this region as a result of this waterway. Iran has got a number of facilities here. You've got to remember the way that this lies as well. It's the UAE and Oman together. And on the other side, you have Iran. And effectively, they've got ports, they've got Navy vessels, they've got missile launch systems on the ground very close to the Strait of Hormuz that they could attack pretty much in seconds. We were getting some indication that potentially US Navy vessels and also European Navy vessels are on the way to the Strait of Hormuz to carry out these escort missions that would take some of these tankers that are parked up waiting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz and actually manage to get some of that oil to the rest of the world. That's not been confirmed whether that is something that is happening, but analysts have been telling me that it would be very, very difficult to do that, not least because Iran will most likely attack some of those Navy vessels that are escorting some of those ships. But in fact, it probably wouldn't have much of a difference. If it's taking one tanker at a time, that's not really getting much oil across the Strait of Hormuz, given that 20 million barrels usually pass through this narrow shipping lane every single day in normal times.
Just to give you guys an idea. And here's the thing, again, why would they just give you their oil when you're killing their people? Why would they do that? I mean, this is the chance that the US and Israel took. You can't just continue to take from people and then you're killing their people at the same time. More about the Strait of Hormuz here. It says the past 30 minutes have been wild. The U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright posted that a U.S. ship had officially gone through the Strait of Hormuz. Markets loved it. Oil tanked. The idea that war was coming to an end started to have legitimacy. Then He deleted the tweet, which got markets to think things aren't actually going well. Now, Caroline Leavitt confirms that a U.S. ship has not gone through the Strait of Hormuz.
Yes, I was made aware of this post. I haven't had a chance to talk to the Energy Secretary about it directly. However, I know the post was taken down pretty quickly, and I can confirm that the U.S. Navy. Yes, I was made aware of this post. I haven't had a chance to talk to the Energy Secretary about it directly. However, I know the post was taken down pretty quickly, and I can confirm that the U.S. Navy has not escorted a tanker or a vessel at this time, though, of course, that's an option the president has said he will absolutely utilize if and when necessary at the appropriate time.
That is the dysfunction of this administration. So, no, a U.S. ship has not passed through. This is crazy. It's crazy and wild. And so now that means, of course, that oil prices are going to continue to increase. Again, I think this is a big embarrassment. Now, to sum all this up, I think Jeffrey Sachs made it very, very clear here. He was on Piers Morgan's show, and he has a way of kind of just taking all this and wrapping it up into one big package and putting a little bow on it. In other words, he has a way of looking at the bigger picture. I want you to hear what he said here, and hopefully he can get this through to Piers Morgan's stubborn head.
I see a calamity building and a lot of blood flowing. It's a kind of mass murder of civilians by Israel and the United States. This is shocking, actually. We should keep it in mind. This is not targeted bombing. This is carpet bombing Tehran. And I've been speaking on the phone with absolutely desperate people in Tehran in the last 48 hours, and it's carpet bombing. And they're killing indiscriminately. So this is a disaster that is not likely to go away. No one's claiming in Israel or the US that it's likely to go away. And the consequences for the world will be utterly awful. And Piers, we have a lot of Americans, we have a very particular society. We have a lot of Americans who are saying, move on. This is Armageddon coming. This is the promised end of the world. We are hearing lots of reports about this being preached in the military. We're seeing a lot of people who believe that the worse it gets, the closer we are to the second coming of Jesus Christ. And that's a motivating factor in the United States, I have to tell you. It's a significant part of Mr. Trump's base. And so bad news is not necessarily deterrence. It may just mean escalation to Armageddon. It is a grim situation that we're in. We've not seen anything like it, actually, since World War II. This is even beyond the Iraq War. They then had, I won't say the dignity, but they then had the impulse to hide the motivations. Here, there is no impulse to hide the motivation.
Yeah, you can almost hear like a little bit of a trembling in his voice a little bit. You know, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, among many others, have traveled around the world trying to convince, you know, other leaders that we cannot have a World War III. We cannot have a nuclear war. He traveled to the EU and he spoke to them and he said, stop the wars, don't support the US, you know, war obsession. So he spends a good portion of his time doing just that, trying to stop that. Scott Ritter does that too. He's traveled to other countries trying to stop escalation and trying to talk to these other leaders in a way that the US government refuses to do because the US just wants to take over everything. And the whole Armageddon thing, to me, that too in itself, it's like this idea that you think that you can bring about the end times by making these decisions and moving in such a way. It's just, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. And I've said this before, all of this over a book that you don't even know is true in the first place. You can say it's what you believe, but we don't really know, you know, if that's true. I think last but not least, I got to show you what Lindsey Graham said. I just, Marjorie Taylor Greene commented on this here. I just, she's been saying quite a bit of things. There needs to be more conservatives saying this as well. By the way, a bunch of psycho Republicans want to not only draft your sons, but your daughters too. Send Lindsey Graham, Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, and all the murderous, bloodthirsty maniacs. Let's see if I can find that Lindsey Graham one. That might be further at the top. Because Lindsey Graham, I think, said one of the most egregious, here we go, remarks. Again, this guy is just like hungry for war. Excuse me. I think this is the one right here. Yeah, where people are like, he wants your children to fight these wars. Yeah, I think this is the
your
one.
way. I don't want to do business with you anymore. I want our air bases out of Spain into a country that will let us use them. To our Arab friends, I've tried to help you construct a new Mideast. You need to up your game here. I can't go to South Carolina and say we're fighting and you won't publicly fight. What you're doing behind the scenes, that has to stop. The double dealing of the Arab world when it comes to this stuff needs to end. I go back to South Carolina, I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Mideast.
You guys hear that? So Lindsey Graham, he is asking people in South Carolina to send their sons and daughters over to the Middle East. Lindsey Graham doesn't want to send his kids because I don't believe he has kids, but he want to send your kids. You see how that works? It's crazy. Like, this is just, I swear to God, I've seen some things in my life, guys. But a war with Iran, we warned you guys, would be an epic disaster for the United States and for Israel, obviously. And they seriously want to get American troops there on the ground. That is insane. Ay, ay, ay. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. Thank you for the super chat, La Senora. My name is pronounced Shamonique, Sabby, Shamonique. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Krista. Happy belated birthday, Sabby. Thank you. Thank you so much. JFGW said 319 in St. Louis. King said, I saw the White House briefing today and they claim the U.S. ain't backing down. I don't know what to believe at this point. I know, right? It's all over the place. Lance said Iran isn't weak. Iran exercised restraint. Now that they aren't negotiating anymore, the U.S. and Israel will see their power. Thank you, Pose. Iran even showed us their missile capabilities when they did that limited strike. Yet the U.S. and Israel spun it as they missed and believed their own lies. I guess, as usual. Thank you, Measured Man. What is the point of them having daily briefings and they all go to the press and lie with different stories? Need to verify. 5, Trump ring was off. Thank you. Oh, no, not 5. 4, Roman numerals. I think that's 4. 4, Trump ring was off. Thank you for sale. Israel new name is rubble, crumbs of stone. Thank you, Raphael. Sister, please enlighten me. How can Trump be doing so much? Why Obama with a supermajority in both places could not do anything? Make me understand. Because he didn't want to. Because he didn't want to. Yeah, I mean, Trump's going all in. Thank you for this one, Raphael. Could Obama be that forceful if he wanted to? He could have those first 2 years. But, you know, he didn't want to poke the bear. Thank you, Measured Man. Sabby, I come from a military family. Our troops are not equipped with Iran terrain. My family talked about this entire weekend, and my uncles were special forces. They know this and don't care. You see, guys? Thank you, Obed. Thank you, Sabby, for your great work. Greetings from the Netherlands from me and my cat, Ska. All right, what's up? Netherlands in the house. Shout out to Joan Witt, who's been a member for 22 months. I wonder how many Americans have died. No way it is 6 killed, more like 1,000. I wonder too. Thank you, New York Varsity, because if there's anything in the U.S. won't tolerate, it's starting a proxy war against our enemies. Thank you, Libertarian. I got to say, is James Talrico Senator Blumenthal's son? I don't know. Interesting question. Thank you, Kevin. Happy belated birthday. Patrick Lancaster has something about NATO missiles attacking Russia. Interesting. Thank you, Shockwave Truth. Sabby for every single digest plus 200 equals USA. Shout out to Denise for becoming a Sabby member. Give Denise a big whoop whoop. And thank you, Shockwave. If the US says 7, it's really 700. Plus contractors and soldiers of money, it's 1K dead, sadly. Well, this is good to keep in mind, for the future. Thank you for this one as well, Shockwave. 150 soldiers hurt are the reported special forces that survived and are POWs currently in Iran. The rest of the unit, KIA, sadly, if reports are correct, he can hide special forces deaths easier. Okay, interesting. Thank you, Mark. Don't include me in your fucking end times. Thanks, Pirate. D13 for Israel or you're anti-Semitic. Thank you, that South Baby. Good evening, fam. My little brother, who is an officer in the Marines, is currently awaiting in Florida to be deployed to Iran. I'm pissed. I'm sorry to hear that. Hey, we all have family that then been there. But I'm sorry to hear it. Yeah, it's scary, man. Let's go ahead and get the Rumble rant. Thank you, Mark. Saw 2 songs making fun of Tel Aviv already. Paybacks. Yeah, I know. Some of them I can't I've seen them, but I can't play them on here because I don't know if it's copyright, which it probably is. Just saying. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's keep it going on with Shit Hit the Fan. All right. Next story. We have an update that more people need to get into about these Epstein files. Check this out. Apparently, after Jeffrey Epstein died, did you know that the FBI were also going to go after more co-conspirators? They were going to indict them, not just Ghislaine Maxwell. And we have the evidence to prove it. Shout out to Amy Nelson, who tracked this. Breaking. After Epstein died, the FBI was working on numerous cases with plans to indict co-conspirators other than Maxwell. So let me show you that piece of information here. August 25th, 2019. Of course, they redacted all the FBI names. After much engagement with HQ over the past 48 hours, and our efforts to both consolidate and limit the reporting requirements, HQ was now requesting updates in a conference call to be held daily at 3:30. It's military time. You should all receive the bridge line information tomorrow. Trust me, nothing you're thinking right now hasn't already been communicated to the highest levels. In my opinion, this is largely driven by DOJ. Is it inconvenient? Yes. Regardless, we'll need to support the calls because those you all deal with in CID are in the exact same position as you. We should support each other and push through. Based on all my calls with HQ, here are some of my thoughts on how we should go forward. Many questions I'm receiving are driven by media reporting, Maxwell, New Mexico resident search, etc. If you see sustained reporting on one aspect, get ahead of it. For example, media has been all over the location and role of Maxwell as a co-conspirator. I advise that based on the volume and the quality of evidence we have, the team is currently focused on charges for a different co-conspirator. However, we're engaged with counsel for all co-conspirators. Kill the rumor before it gets legs in the minds of our senior leadership. So here is communication here between the FBI, and again, they redacted the names. Whoever sent this to everybody else, the FBI said, kill this before it gets to senior leadership. They were already saying at that point in time, we are looking into other co-conspirators. So they didn't just want to indict Ghislaine Maxwell. They wanted to indict other ones as well. And they wanted people to kill that rumor mill so that senior leadership wouldn't get that in their heads that we're just going to try to indict Ghislaine Maxwell. This is the first time I was hearing about this. With regard to interviews or other investigative techniques, stay general unless we have significant information. You could say we conducted interviews of 14 MCC correction officers and continued with the financial analysis, but don't give anything significant to report. Only give names of an interviewee if there is something significant. If we don't have significant results to report, it's okay to say so. Be mindful that most, if not all, of what you say will be pushed to the 7th floor. Guess that's where the big dogs are, the 7th floor. Tuesday is a big day with the hearing, so be prepared to talk about it on Monday and beyond. You can provide the approximate number of victims expected to attend and any efforts we have in making it happen, coordinating transportation, etc. On Tuesday, you'll give the readout of the hearing. In your reporting over the next few days and weeks, stay focused on the investigation of the co-conspirators and stay tight with SDNY on conversations having with counsel and the direction we're headed towards charges. Do you hear this? In your reporting over the next few days and weeks, stay focused on the investigation of the co-conspirators and stay tight with SDNY on conversations they're having with counsel and the direction we're headed towards charges. This email makes it very clear that the FBI at that point in time was heading towards charging other co-conspirators, not just Ghislaine Maxwell. This email doesn't say that, oh, well, we might think about it. This email says that they were heading towards charging other co-conspirators, and it didn't happen. This is the one that more people are pointing towards now. And this is why I say, let's go back to the individual who shared this here. Every time I turn around, there's something else that comes out of these emails. She went on to say, no one has mentioned this in regards to Epstein's death, but this is a very big deal. SDNY moved very quickly within 24 hours to obtain and issue a grand jury subpoena seeking the IP address of the 4chan user who said Epstein had been switched out before his death. They were more speedy about trying to get the IP address of the 4chan user who was saying, no, that guy was switched out, than they were at getting justice for these victims. Absolutely insane. But we may have some good news to share along with this. It appears that Zorro Ranch, that physical investigation has started. Listen to this.
Well, I am coming to you from New Mexico with a breaking update in the Epstein investigation. And that is today, New Mexico's Department of Justice has begun its on-site investigation of Zorro Ranch. This investigation is crucial as a part of our larger investigation into the crimes that happened by Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and his associates here in New Mexico, as part of New Mexico's investigation through our state Department of Justice and our newly passed bipartisan Truth Commission. Now, one of the things that's important to know is that New Mexico's Zorro Ranch is a place where multiple crimes were reported both to federal authorities as well as state and local authorities. In fact, there are records dating back to the mid-1990s of abuse happening at the ranch, including a report to the FBI in 1996 by a survivor and multiple other reports over the years. And one of the significant and important pieces pieces of this case is to understand why justice was never pursued at the state, local, or federal level. So this investigation is a crucial piece of trying to understand what happened at the ranch, to look for potential crimes that may have occurred on the ranch property, especially because after Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in 2019 and other properties were searched, Zorro Ranch was never properly searched, and because it is a crucial piece in getting to the bottom of truth and accountability here in our state, to hold those who are still able to be held accountable to the law, as well as seeking justice and healing for survivors here in our state. So,
of New Mexico. So she's along with others that came forward from the state of New Mexico that said, okay, we're going to try to see what we can do here since Zorro Ranch is located here. The only thing I'm concerned about with this is that because it's been so long, any evidence that could have or would have been there may not be there anymore. That's the only thing I'm worried about. Like, I saw the emails that allege that there were bodies that were buried, you know, at Zorro Ranch. Again, I just don't know, like, is that still there? So much time has gone by. Now, it's great that they're looking into this and they're searching that property, hopefully digging up that property. I just don't know what they're going to be able to find at this point in time. Right? But there are connections. There are connections. Remember I told you about those 3 Israeli brothers, the Alexander brothers? This is some good news, by the way. You know, those guys were mentioned in the Epstein files multiple times, and I told you there's some type of connection with them there. They faced trial. They lived through trial, and they have just been found guilty, and they are facing a potential life sentence. This is some good news to share here, guys. Check it out.
A jury has found 2 luxury real estate agents and their brother guilty of sex trafficking. Prosecutors accused the 3 Alexander brothers of using their money and influence to lure women into luxury trips and parties where they would drug, assault, and rape women for more than a decade.
Pause. Sounds very similar to Epstein's MO, right? Yeah, that some of those girls, remember that some of the victims in the Epstein files and the emails said that they were drugged. So here we go. I got some more to tell you about them too.
Brothers' attorneys argue in court that while the brothers' behavior could be seen as crude or inappropriate, they did not commit a federal crime. And we see Stephen Romo and Misty Maris joining us now on this. Stephen, the brothers face up to life in prison. Talk about what we saw over the course of this trial. Bring us all up to date.
Yeah, Tom, this trial going on for more than a month, and the allegations from these 11 accusers we heard from, they were hard to listen to. The brothers, of course, denying these accusations that they drugged and raped these women and girls. 2 of the women said that they felt paralyzed before they were assaulted by Oren and Alon Alexander. Prosecutors also said Oren Alexander videotaped himself with an incapacitated 17-year-old girl back in 2009. That led to the charge of exploitation of a minor. The brothers were accused of using their wealth and status to lure these women in. And prosecutors say they used a playbook of repeated tactics with the women and girls over the course of years.
Now, where did they get that playbook from? Because again, like I said, these guys are in the Epstein files numerous times, these 3 Israeli brothers. And the other thing about these guys that you need to know, and walk with me here as well, they said that one of the victims said that she was paralyzed after hanging out with them. Remember, there's a drug that can paralyze you. Where'd they get all this from? How did they get access to that? And then wait till I tell you about who else they're connected to. Not just the Epstein. Wait for it.
The defense tried to undermine that, saying that the sex was consensual and that prosecutors were really trying to criminalize dating. The brothers' attorneys also kind of admitted that the men were womanizers, but said that it's not criminal. The defense team had asked the jurors in closing to not just convict these men because they did not like their lifestyle, saying it wasn't a crime. But the jurors, they didn't agree. They sided with the prosecution. Yeah. We actually have a statement from the prosecution that we just got in saying this verdict cannot undo to the effects of heinous abuse the Alexanders, many victims endured, but it does send a message. New Yorkers want to bring an end to sex trafficking in all our communities. Tom?
Misty, what do you think was the key moment here or testimony in this trial that led to this verdict, and how severe do you think the sentence is likely to be?
Tom, so as Stephen laid out, there were 11 victims who testified, 2 who were underage at the time that they were allegedly raped by the Alexander brothers. And that testimony was very, very impactful. It showed a pattern of conduct, similarities between the stories of those victims who took the stand. But in addition to that, there was an electronic footprint that was incredibly difficult for the defense to contest. There were messages between the brothers, texts and emails, and a blog which set out what was called a playbook and a section that said, it's not rape if, listing all of these things that the Alexander brothers were accused of doing and ultimately convicted of. So I do believe that led to the conviction. As far as penalty, there's a 15-year mandatory minimum for the sex trafficking conviction. The judge can tack on more. They face up to life. Each brother will be looked at individually, and they will be able to submit pre-sentencing reports in July, and ultimately they'll be sentenced in August. They're looking at the pattern of the crime, the nature of the crime, but also taking into account that they don't have a criminal history.
So one thing I want to add here again, these guys right now could be looking at life in prison. And don't get it twisted. Like I say, this is good news. There's some good coming from this. But again, these guys are not the head of the snake. Now let's get into their connections. Check this out. I'm telling you, all these people roll together. From Dimitri Laskaris here. The convicted rapists and sex traffickers Tal and Orrin Alexander represented Leon Black, Jared Kushner, and Ivanka Trump in a huge real estate transaction. I'll show you the article that discusses that in just a second. They also donated to pro-Israel causes, including Friends of the IDF. Billionaire Leon Black was closely tied to notorious pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and has been accused but never charged of violently assaulting a minor female. A female complainant reported to the FBI that the Alexander brothers attempted to assault her at a friend at Epstein's New York residence. By the way, Grok even confirmed this as well. You can see where Grok confirms that they had this relationship with them. So these guys also tied to Jeffrey Epstein, knew him, but now you're also seeing they had a relationship with Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. Remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene said Donald Trump told her that his friends could get hurt? You see some of those people that Donald Trump was talking about. He met him too. But you see some of the people, some of these friends, the frenzies. It was actually reported in 2024. Disgraced real estate titans, the Alexander brothers, partied with the Trumps at the 2016 inauguration and White House Hanukkah celebration. I'll show you the connection here. It goes on to say, and this was 2024 when this article was written. So they were already talking about it back then. That's when they were charged with sexually assaulting women. By the way, this goes back to when they were in high school. So they got away with this for years. And that's why I said there's other Epsteins. It wasn't just Jeffrey Epstein, right? It goes on to say here, before the arrest, the high-flying trio were hailed as royalty in real estate circles. They were big Trump supporters and even celebrated with the president at his inauguration party. The Alexanders had ties to the Kushner family via their real estate empire, adding that the brothers were in the room when Trump was elected in 2016. They're real estate people in New York City. They were big Trump supporters. Both the Alexanders and the Kushner family both have homes in the exclusive Miami enclave, Bal Harbor. You know who else is hanging out in Miami? Benjamin Netanyahu's son. Pictures show that all three brothers even attended then President Trump's Hanukkah party at the White House in 2020. That's all three of them there. And they are very, very pro-Israel supporters. Here's a picture, of course, of the Trump family. A fourth man, Ohad Fisherman, has also been charged with sexual battery in Miami, where he's accused of assaulting one woman with Alon and Oren. There's two of them there. So these guys were tied with Trump, Epstein, Ivanka, and Jared Kushner. All these people run in the same circle. All of them. You mean to tell me they don't know nothing about nothing? Now, that article was written in 2024, but a lot of people didn't see it until today. Because once they were announced guilty, people were like, oh, yeah, well, these are the guys that, you know, they have ties to Ivanka and Jared. And again, Grok does even confirm here. Family donates to Israeli Jewish causes, Friends of the IDF, United Hatzalah, no prominent public banks to Kol Chabad found in records, all per court findings. So as you see here, again, similarities to Donald Trump and Epstein, donating to Friends of the IDF or pro-Israel causes. All seem to be friends with Jeffrey Epstein, but don't know nothing about nothing. And this makes you wonder who else Epstein had up under him that he could have been. Who knows? These guys, like many Epsteins, there could have even been people under them. So there's multiple people that you have to go after here. That's why I said it's not just Jeffrey Epstein. Thomas Massey also commented on this when they were found not guilty. He said the Alexander brothers appeared in the Epstein files by first name, but I noticed the DOJ redacted their last name in the FBI email contained in, and there's the number, the document number there. But Kash Patel said no evidence of sex trafficking in the files. So here's another example to show you that basically what they did. So the DOJ, and Donald Trump probably told them to do this, the DOJ redacted their last names. These are Donald Trump's friends. These are Ivanka Trump's friends. These are Jared Kushner's friends. And then that gets to the Ivanka question, because you know that Ivanka was also a teen model. I don't know if everybody, you know, got going back in the day a little bit, but Ivanka was a teen model. And from what I understand, she was signed to the same agency that John Casablancas was responsible for. And we all know John Casablancas, according to Whitney Webb's article, we know that John Casablancas also was messing around with underage girls. There was a story that was reported years ago by someone who was best friends with Ivanka. And she claimed that during that time, back during her, I guess, modeling days when she was a teenager, that Ivanka Trump apparently had an abortion, allegedly. How'd that happen? So people often wonder if something happened to her too. Shit has hit the fan, but we're finally seeing some type of justice. Is it enough? No, but we're seeing some type of justice where we see these guys have been found have been found guilty. Now, are they gonna find people like Leon Black and them guilty? I don't know. Probably not. They'll probably never be able to find Les Wexner guilty. I think Les Wexner has too much dirt on a lot of people. But here's a little piece, and I say a little piece of justice. Shit hit the fan. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. Thank you, James. Russia and or China need to put Iran under their umbrella. Measured Man said they live 3 houses down from Diddy. Oh, the brothers? Interesting. Saul said, always watch your drink. Yes, always watch your drink. 11 Brother said, if this is federal, Trump may pardon. We'll have to wait and see if that happens. Hopefully not, but we'll have to wait and see if Donald Trump tries to pardon them. Thank you, Measured Man. Sabby, when I said for earlier, I was trying to say Ivanka Trump. Oh, ring. Remember, my son represented someone in the Diddy case. Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Leonard. Trump's name is mentioned more times in the Epstein files than Jesus's name is mentioned in every known version of the Bible on the entire planet. And thank you, Angela, for the super sticker. Thank you. Okay, let's keep it moving and grooving, shall we? We're going to get to the next story. This one I'm excited to dive into. Been waiting to do this for quite some time. If you haven't done so, do me a solid, please, and smash the like button. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. Let's keep it moving and grooving, folks. It's time to talk about the Rothschild family. Because a lot of these things that we complain about goes back to that family. The Rothschild family is a family of vast wealth. They're the ones that really spearheaded this whole Zionist project, what became of Israel. But it didn't start there. You ever wondered how they were able to have so much wealth in the first place? You ever think about that? The Rothschild family wealth goes all the way back to the 1700s. That's how long they have held on to their wealth. 1700s. The Rothschild family is the most famous of all European banking dynasties. For 200 years, they had considerable economic influence in Europe. The house was founded by Mayor Amschel Rothschild. That goes back to 1744. So we're talking about not decades, not years. We're talking about generations, centuries of vast amounts of wealth, the Rothschild family. If you're wondering how they were able to hold on to that wealth for so long, it's because they did something that some rich people also did back in that day. They married in the family. Ew, I know, right? No, seriously. They married their cousins. And the reason why they did this is so that they could keep the wealth in the family, because typically you marry someone that's not in your family and there can be this whole debacle over who gets what and you get that and all that type of thing. Now that money is also part of it belongs to someone else. So they married their cousins to keep the money in the family. You can see it here. They weren't alone. Others that did this. Why have so many world leaders married their cousins? Royal weddings through history have often had one thing in common. The bride and groom were cousins. But did you know that so many royals, they married within the family? If we just dive down here, we'll get to the Rothschild family as well. Make sure I get to the right part here, because they talk about like other families. Let me do the find. There we go. Here we go right here. Check this out. The marriages that I should prefer for our colony would be between the cousins. In that way, we should be sure of honesty of soul and purity of blood. This is wild. Other magnates were more discreet, but they often shared the same opinion by refusing to allow his female descendants to inherit his wealth. Banking great Mayor Amschel Rothschild, who I just told you about from 1700s, guaranteed that for his daughters and granddaughters to find wealthy, suitable husbands, they would have to look among their cousins. And so they did. 4 pairs of Rothschild cousins, as well as one uncle-niece pairing, were wed. So this is something that happened quite a bit among wealthy families, back in the day. That's how they kept the wealth in the family. Gross. I know, right? Money was that important to them. Now, I had to point that out because they are a European banking dynasty. We're talking about centuries banking dynasty. So knowing how much wealth they had and knowing how they were able to maintain that wealth, that brings me to the Zionist Project. Because this is how they were able to move forward with the Balfour Doctrine. Listen to this.
The Zionist movement, which aimed to establish a Jewish homeland, was primarily a movement from Eastern Europe. However, there was no clear leadership or figurehead representing this movement. The British government, recognizing the need for a central address, turned to the Rothschild family. The Rothschilds were a prominent and influential family, known for their immense wealth and connections. They had a long...
Pause right there. So the British government, again, the Zionist Project, Eastern European movement, the British government went to the Rothschild family because they knew they had the wealth, the money. But did you hear what else they said? They had power and influence and connections. They had all the tools at their disposal to get something like this done. So the British government said, let's go to the family that has the money and the means and the resources to get this done. Let's continue on.
Long history of involvement in various political and financial affairs. It was believed that their influence and resources made them the ideal recipients of such a declaration. Among the Rothschild family, the second Lord Rothschild, Walter Rothschild, was chosen as the recipient of the Balfour Declaration. Walter was an eccentric and colourful character with a passion for collecting. He had amassed the largest collection of ornithological material in Great Britain, showcasing his wide-ranging interests. However, it was Walter's deep interest in the Zionist cause and his involvement in the early years of the establishment of pioneer communities in Israel. Walter's commitment to the Zionist movement made him a natural ally for the British government in their support for a Jewish homeland. Nevertheless, it is important to note that the Rothschild family was not united in their support for the establishment of a national home in Israel. Some members, like James Rothschild, who'd come from France, believed it was better to assimilate into English life and did not support the idea. Nevertheless, others, like Dorothy de Rothschild, played a critical role in advancing the Zionist cause. Dorothy, a major supporter of Israel from a young age, became instrumental in connecting with the British establishment and facilitating meetings with Zionist leaders. She married her cousin, James Rothschild, at the age of 17.
There we go with the cousins marrying, right? Okay.
Dedicated her life to advancing the cause of Israel after his death. Dorothy's passion, combined with her ability to navigate the highest echelons of British society, made her an important figure in the Zionist movement. The Balfour Declaration, with its 3 simple words, "Dear Lord Rothschild," marked a turning point in Jewish...
Let's go back a little bit here where we have that document.
The Balfour Declaration, with its 3 simple words.
Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you on behalf of His Majesty government the following declaration of sympathy with the Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the cabinet. His Majesty government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. Pause right there. But let Netanyahu tell it, there was no such thing as Palestine. Boy, I tell you, man, and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine, or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. So do you see what this Balfour Declaration said? That nothing was supposed to happen to the Palestinian people who were already there. They weren't supposed to lose any rights, and they weren't supposed to lose any religious freedom. Obviously, that's not the way the things turned out. But everybody needs to see this started in Eastern Europe and made its way all the way to the British government. And they went to the Rothschild because they had the money to get it out there and to make this happen. Again, it says Palestine for the people who continue to say there was no such thing. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. That was 1917.
Words, dear Lord Rothschild, marked a turning point in Jewish history. It was a testament to the power and influence of the Rothschild family, as well as their commitment to the Zionist cause. The declaration went through several drafts and compromises before its finalization, but its essence remained the same. A promise of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. The declaration, as Jacob Rothschild went on to reveal in the interview, further expressed the British government's support for the establishment of a Jewish home in Palestine. It was a monumental statement that held great significance for the Jewish community. The declaration stated, His Majesty's government views with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of this object. These words were a beacon of hope for the Jewish people, who had long yearned for a homeland of their own. However, the declaration also emphasized the importance of safeguarding the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities.
And that didn't happen. That's the piece that wasn't there, right? So if that was in writing that needed to happen, why didn't it happen? It didn't happen because supremacy took hold. I mean, Lord Rothschild moved this forward, but it's not like he went there to make sure that it was done the way it was supposed to be done.
Palestine. It was a delicate balance, ensuring that the establishment of a Jewish home did not come at the expense of the rights of others. This aspect of the declaration was crucial in maintaining peace and harmony in the region. The Balfour Declaration was seen as one of the most extraordinary moments in Jewish history. It was a culmination of 3,000 years of struggle and perseverance. For many, it was nothing short of a miracle. The idea that an impoverished would-be statesman like Chaim Weizmann could persuade powerful figures like Walter Rothschild, Arthur Balfour, and even Prime Minister Lloyd George to support the establishment of a Jewish homeland seemed unlikely, yet it happened. As good as the Balfour Declaration sounded, the reactions to it were varied. Within the Jewish community, it was hailed as the greatest event in thousands of years. It was a moment of immense pride and joy, as the dream of a Jewish homeland was finally within reach. The declaration provided a sense of validation and recognition for the Jewish people, who had faced centuries of persecution and displacement. However, the declaration also faced criticism and opposition. Some argued that it did not go far enough in guaranteeing the rights of non-Jewish communities in Palestine. Others questioned the motives behind the declaration, viewing it as a political move by the British government to...
So you guys get the point here about the Rothschild family and the Zionist movement. I have to remind you again that the Rothschild family, they were a European banking dynasty. I mean, when you got the banks, everybody got to come through you. And if you say yes, then it happens. But where have the Rothschild family members been on this issue since the rights of the Palestinians were not protected? Where have they been? They've been steadily supporting the pro-Israel cause. You never hear any of the Rothschilds come forward and say what's happening to the Palestinian people is wrong, and this is not what the Balfour Declaration said. You never hear them say that, do you? For those who are not aware about the Rothschild family, I think you need to look at who some of them are right now, just walking around in modern day society and who they're connected to. The Rothschild family is worth an estimated $1 billion, meet the remaining heirs of their dynasty, right? Everybody talks about Jacob Rothschild, which is shown at the very, beginning here, one of the more famous ones. But you have to remember there are heirs like younger and walking around right now, like this one here. So let me tell you here. That is Nikki Hilton, Paris Hilton's sister. She's with one of the Rothschilds. Follow me with me, guys. These are the people with the money. The Hilton family is very wealthy. You'll notice if you follow this trend, a lot of these people are pro-Israel or they donate money to Israel causes. So let's go on here. Lord Jacob Rothschild and his wife Serena had 4 children: Hannah, Beth, Emily, and Nat. The family's philanthropy has focused on Jewish charities and arts and culture. So let's look at some of the pictures, shall we? This is Hannah Rothschild. Hannah, 61. This is Jacob and Serena's oldest child. What does Hannah do? She's the author of several books. She also directed and produced documentaries, some about jazz baroness. She served as the chair of the board of trustees of the National Gallery in London. She has chaired the board of Yad Hanadiv, the Rothschild's family's philanthropic foundation in Israel. So here we go. Since 2018, according to the organization's website. This is something you'll notice. They all make sure that they support Israel. Nathaniel Rothschild, the youngest child and only son of Jacob. He was the co-chairman of the hedge fund Atticus Capital from 1996 until it ceased activity in 2009. He lives in Switzerland. He previously ran J&R Limited. Look at this. Forbes listed his net worth at $1 billion in 2012, but he's not included in their current billionaires ranking. Upon the death of his father, he became the 5th Baron Rothschild. Hannah and Nat have 2 siblings, Beth and Emily, who have not taken major roles in public life or Rothschild family institutions. So you got people behind the scenes too. Lynn Foster de Rothschild, 69, married Sir Evelyn de Rothschild. That was Jacob's cousin. She is the CEO of E.L. Rothschild, a holding company with investments in a range of media properties, including the Economist Group. Listen to this. She's a major fundraiser for Hillary Clinton in 2008 and gained notoriety for subsequently endorsing John McCain. So do you see how people move in both ways? See how she endorsed and donated to Hillary Clinton, but she also endorsed and donated to John McCain? You see how they play both sides? Okay. She lives in New York and London. David Mayer de Rothschild. See, these are the ones walking around today. 45. He's the youngest of Jacob, youngest child of Jacob's cousin. Environmental activist. What do you know? He launched the Lost Explorer, a sustainable clothing and lifestyle brand, in 2016. Nadine Rothschild. Nadine is 91 years old, the widow of Edmund Adolph de Rothschild. When he died in 1997, he was thought to be the richest member of the family. Nadine is a French author and an actress who used the stage name Nadine Tallier, according to IMDb. Look this. Check this out. See how people can change their names? So she uses a stage name for her last name so that people don't know she a Rothschild. See, you got to pay attention. Let's go on here. This is one we really got to talk about. Arian Rothschild. We have her here. Oh, I'll go to the next one in a second. Arian Rothschild. This is the one that just came up recently in the Epstein files. She was married to Edmund and Nadine Rothschild's son, Benjamin, from 1999 until his death in 2021. Having worked for various Rothschild financial institutions since the early 2000s, she became CEO of Edmund de Rothschild Group in 2023, making her the first woman to run a Rothschild bank. She runs a bank. Edward Itene, I'm going to butcher this, sorry, Alphonse Rothschild. We'll come back to Ariane in just a second. A member of the French wing of the family, 66 years old. He turned down a position at the French Rothschild bank to focus on pursuits outside of finance. Goes on to say here, he invested approximately $28 million in the left-wing Parisian newspaper Liberation. He became president of the board. He moved to Israel. Everybody see this? Members of the Rothschild family contributed to the founding of the state of Israel, buying land from Ottoman authorities and financing the construction of Israel's Knesset and Supreme Court buildings. So when people wonder, how was Israel able to do some of the things that they did? You see where a lot of the money came from. David Rene James de Rothschild. David is Edward's brother, the guy I just showed you. Served as chairman of Rothschild & Co. Gestion from 2012 to 2018. 81 years old. So these people, and then last, but I think this is the last one, Emma Georgina Rothschild. And she is 75. She's the daughter of Victor Rothschild, 3rd Baron Rothschild. She's an economic historian at Harvard University, an honorary professor at Cambridge. They're all over, they're in all different sectors here. And then there's James Rothschild. This is the one who was married to Paris Hilton's sister, Nikki Hilton. The Hiltons are very rich too, by the way, obviously, if you guys don't know. James Rothschild, 38, is the grandson of Victor Rothschild. He's the founder and managing partner of growth technology firm True Arrow Partners and the co-founder of the investment firm West Arrow. He's the trustee of Yad Hanadiv. He married hotel heiress Nikki Hilton at Kensington Palace in 2015. Jeffrey Epstein said in emails in the Epstein files that he worked for the Rothschild. And we know Jeffrey Epstein also was part of the Friends for the IDF. He supported the IDF, that foundation as well. All of these people are connected. And the one thing they all seem to have in common, aside from being rich and wealthy, is they're all pro-Israel. We have to pull up Arian, because I said I was going to go to her real quick because she is in the Epstein files. So I do want you guys to see, let me see if I can pull it up, because this was one of the ones that caused quite a stir. All right, so we'll pull this up here. Look, watch this. There's a number of them. She's in the Epstein files. Mario has shared this on February 7th. Ariane de Rothschild, chairwoman of Edmund de Rothschild Group, thanked Epstein for the thrilling hunt. She's not just wealthy, she runs a multi-billion-dollar banking empire with clients across global finance royalty. See? From to Jeffrey Epstein, thanks, thrilling hunt. That's from Ariane de Rothschild. And you can see it here. Got it. Amazing old male and amazing hunt. My bankers should be careful. Great photo. Now, of course, they redacted that photo, so we couldn't see that. Here's another one. Ariane de Rothschild exchanged emails with Epstein dozens of times a month. One of the most connected person to Epstein, and Epstein also admitted in email that he worked for the Rothschild. The same banking dynasty that ran Epstein also built Israel. Coincidence or design? See how often she was emailing Jeffrey Epstein? People have been on it. I told you. Here was another one. Ariane Rothschild and Jeffrey Epstein here. Great. Did you get my video with the girls? Ariane Rothschild. I'll be there 20 to 30. I know it's true, but regularly used to say that Rothschilds planned and supported Hitler in mass destruction to gain more power. I'm in the Maldives also with a cold since yesterday. I've been diving a lot, 3 to 4 a day. Back in Europe, the third. Arian Rothschild. What? I'm telling you guys, here she is right here. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Arian de Rothschild with Epstein. He was working for her and the Zionist mafia. She's untouchable. There she is. So I hope the full connection has been made. These are the people that you probably will never see any type of accountability. The Rothschild family. I mean, when you own the banks, kind of hard for people to come after you. A lot of times when we talk about wealthy people, people always mention Elon Musk. That's an easy one. Jeff Bezos, easy. Bill Gates, easy. But you really don't hear people mention the Rothschilds. Interesting, huh? Something to think about. Let's go to some of the comments, ladies and gents. Thank you so much. Chip says, marrying cousins keeps the money in the family. And yes, by money, you mean trade secrets, business tactics, trade networks, not simply about protecting inheritance. FM said family tree has no branches. Oh my God. Why? Let's go to Resurrect says, David Ben Gurion is from Poland, I do believe. Probably. Thank you, Wasim. When they say the Jewish people, they are not a race, it is a religion, like you can't convert your race. You know, that's what Miko Palid says, something like that. I need to bring Miko Palid back on, see if he's doing interviews again. Thank you, Measured Man. Sabby, Eyes Wide Open by Fiona Barnett said the Hiltons were a part of this and hunting parties. Yo! And then, don't forget the Hiltons, when we're talking about also reality TV, you guys got to remember when you look at Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, that's, what's her name? Kyle is a Hilton. So, you know, it just kind of goes there. Thank you, Brass Tacks. The Rothschild fortune started in the cotton industry. Cotton picked in America. Guess who picked that cotton? Cotton was to the world economy back then what oil is now. That's a good point. And shout out to Poser, who's been a member for 17 months. Makes me sick how the rich Zios were happy to let millions of regular Jews get murdered because it furthered their goal of getting a Jewish state. And thank you, Sticky Icky. That Zionists will say Palestinians do have rights inside of Israel. They love litigation. Yeah. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. We have a quick one here that I want to show you guys a little bit about what's going on in podcast world. And then we're going to get to that Erika Kirk story, which is driving me crazy. So if you haven't had a chance to do so, ladies and gents, please smash that like button and we'll keep it moving and grooving. Let's do the damn thing. Okay. I don't know if everybody has noticed, but Netflix has decided to implement podcasts to their platforms. Kind of weird to me. Most people don't sit down to watch Netflix and say, I want to watch a podcast. So I wasn't sure how that was going to go. And it's just kind of weird to me because most people that watch podcasts tend to do so on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple. You get the point. Not Netflix. It's called Netflix and Chill for a reason. But one of the most popular podcasts and radio shows, The Breakfast Club, was given a deal by Netflix, and they took it. From what I understand, Netflix really paid a lot of these podcasts up front, and then they would go ahead and produce the content. The question that we have here is the short-term gain worth it in the long term? Because apparently one of their co-hosts is speaking out, and I don't think that Jess Hilarious is too happy about making this move. Jess Hilarious gets candid on how the Breakfast Club feels disconnected from the fan base since they moved to Netflix. Listen to this.
I ain't gonna lie, yo, since Breakfast Club been on Netflix, man, our engagement, our people be, all the fans that we built up over time, or that they built up, I just got here, that they built up over time on YouTube, oh my God, they feel neglected because Netflix was like, nope, we want all of it. Y'all can't have no other social media presence, none.
Did you guys hear that? So apparently this deal with Netflix, it looks like Netflix wants the whole shebang. If we have a contract with you, we really don't want you to be anywhere else. The problem that comes from this is that Netflix has not been known to be stable. Like, there's a number of times there's been shows on Netflix that had really good reviews, great ratings, and for whatever reason, Netflix says, yeah, we're not coming back for a second season. They never tell you why. They just decide not to do it. And that's for popular shows, not just shows that are like the ones that do perform badly. I'm talking about the ones that perform well. They will just decide, I'm not coming back for a second season with that show. And fans of the show will get really upset. But according to Jess Hilarious, it sounds like Netflix is telling the Breakfast Club, it's us or nobody. So what really was in this deal? And I bring this question again. Is the short-term gain of getting all this money getting paid up front, is it worth it in the long term?
So now we got to find other content to do that can go on our other platforms. But it's okay because Jess Hilarious got that in a bag, shorty. So make sure y'all tune into Jess's Thoughts. I started doing a segment where...
So I guess for them to remain on YouTube, it sounds like they can't use the same content that they're using on YouTube on Netflix. Eric said, should have read that contract. Well, you know, and this is the thing. This is the thing about contracts. This is why I remain independent, because I'm telling you, people have come to me and offered me things, and I'm like, like, no, because you now work for them. Now, the Breakfast Club, the radio show, is owned by our iHeart Radio. So Charlemagne and Jess Hilarious and DJ Envy, they're hosts of the show, but it's owned by iHeart Radio. And sometimes people say, why they bring this person on and why did they give this person a pass? And remember, you got to know who owns it. And then the owner of iHeart Radio also donates to Israel and is pro-Israel. So keep that in mind if you're wondering why they don't hold some people accountable in the way that they should. But now this is starting to have an impact on their YouTube audience because viewers don't necessarily transfer over to other platforms. I think many people have seen this, right? Like a lot of us were on Rumble and Twitter and other platforms, but just because someone watches you on YouTube doesn't mean they're going to go watch you on Rumble. And if that's the case, it doesn't mean they're going to go watch you on Netflix. And not everybody that watches The Breakfast Club on YouTube has a Netflix subscription. These are things that people need to think about. Someone brought up a good example. Sword Mary said Glenn Greenwald just left Rumble. Was that the same issue for him? I don't know, but I do know that with Rumble, for a lot of the people that had the Rumble contracts, there were stipulations where like you could only do live streams on Rumble. You couldn't have a live stream on YouTube, but you could upload short videos on YouTube, but you couldn't go live on YouTube, right? So the problem that I think you run into a lot of times with Rumble is that I think when it first really jumped out the gate and it was growing in popularity and there's a lot of censorship on YouTube and there still is. I don't know what that was, Corey. There's a lot of censorship on YouTube and there still is. I think at that point in time, it's like a lot of people ran over there because they said, oh, okay, we can say whatever we want on this platform. But then what happens is the other platforms don't seem to have the same type of agility as YouTube. The functionality isn't that great. The apps don't work out as well. And so people end up going back to where they were, which was YouTube. Just a reality. So now we're starting to see that the Breakfast Club is starting to sink. The Breakfast Club hits a new low on YouTube. We'll get into what DJ Academic said because he actually went through the data. Of course he did. The Breakfast Club has moved over to Netflix, and DJ Academics describes it as having a catastrophic effect on the brand. In case you have not noticed, some major podcast and radio shows have transitioned over to Netflix. One of those shows is The Breakfast Club. While the show is still transmitted over the radio, you will no longer find the full interviews on YouTube. Instead, you have to subscribe to Netflix to get your daily dose of Charlemagne the God, DJ Envy, and Jess Hilarious. And here we go with the subscription thing again. Like, more platforms are starting to do this. If you want to see this content, you got to be a paid subscriber. And the problem is everyone doesn't have the money to pay and subscribe. And not only that, people don't want to subscribe to all these different damn platforms. I mean, come on. Netflix, Hulu, Apple TV, what else is there? Amazon Prime. There's so many of them. It's hard to keep up with them nowadays. So people who were able to watch the Breakfast Club show for free on YouTube may not necessarily have a Netflix subscription. And if they don't, they may not want to pay per month for a Netflix subscription. You get me? It goes on to say here that the Breakfast Club isn't the only hip hop related entity to go this direction. Rory and Mal have also gone over to Netflix. This has subsequently led to a decline in viral clips from their show. The show's engagement has had a significant decline, and they aren't the only ones feeling the effects. As it turns out, the Breakfast Club is coming off of one of the worst months on YouTube in years. In February 2025, the show had 27 million viewers. In February 2026, those numbers declined to 13 million viewers. This is after the contract. This is a steep decline, and it's further proof that the Netflix deal has taken away some of the show's viewership. So let's get into this analytics here that DJ Academics showed people. And I know some people feel different ways about DJ Academics, but for data purposes, I want you to see what he shows here.
It's hilarious on there. People were really fucking with this shit. You know what I mean? Like, and this is mostly because of, you know, Charlemagne. He's the guy. To put in comparison, last year in March, they did 43 million views. Okay. If you look over the span of like 5 years, it was constantly going up. But last March, they're doing 45 million views a month. Really fucking good. It's now March again, and they've came off their lowest viewed month, which is 13 million views, which just happened in February. But even if we go to February last year, it was 27, right?
And again, by the way, this is way more than I could ever do. But you're seeing the decline after that subscription, that contract with Netflix.
Right. So again, their viewership has halved. Now, you know, there's ebbs and flow with YouTube and this and third, and who knows what happens sometimes. I don't try to go off this, especially for bigger programs and people who've been here for a while. However, it's not just some random blip. It's not just some like maybe a new trend. It's not them taking a vacation. Apparently, their audience are leaving. That's what allegedly people are trying to say. You go to their channel now, Power 105 Breakfast Club, you'll notice a few things. They no longer put up full interviews. They'll put up 4-minute clips, like somebody named Trick Williams. I don't even know who this is.
But see, that's what I was saying about having these contracts. Like someone mentioned Rumble. Rumble's a perfect example. When you establish a viewership on YouTube, I say YouTube because that's the biggest, streaming platform for like podcasts anyway, video podcasts. When you establish like a certain type of content, that's what people get used to, and that's what they expect to see. This isn't rocket science. It's just common sense. If people are used to you uploading full interviews, that's what they want to see. Now, all of a sudden, you're not doing that, and you're just uploading like a 3 or 4 minute clip from an interview. Why would they come back? Why would they continue to watch? Because they're not getting the full interview. Also, as someone who's also a viewer, I'm not just a podcaster, someone who's also a viewer, I don't like being pushed. I don't like when, it's kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say passive aggressive, but it's done in a way that's like, we're not going to put these full interviews on here anymore. We're going to make these member only. So in order to see this interview, you got to become a member. You guys notice I don't do member only content. I hate that. I hated that when I wasn't a podcaster. And so I'm like, now I feel like I'm being pushed into becoming a member so I can see this full interview. Well, I just want to watch the interview. Because the problem is if everybody starts doing that, then everybody got to become a member of everybody's podcast just to watch a full interview. And people ain't got it like that, especially nowadays, right? So it just becomes too much. That's why I don't do it. Sorry. And so this is also why I don't do Patreon only videos either. I just don't. Everybody can't be a Patreon. Everybody can't be a member. People got real shit to pay. People got bills. And I understand that. That's why I don't do that. But now it feels like, now if I want to see this full interview, because you're not posting them on YouTube anymore, now I gotta go get a Netflix subscription in order to watch it. And I ain't doing all that, bruh. So that's just what I'm saying. That's where I'm coming from. So granted, like it just, I don't know. I don't even like the Netflix I watch isn't even my subscription. Shh, don't tell anybody. I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to do that. So why would people come back just to see 3 minutes of something when they were used to you showing 1 hour, 2 hour interviews? Why would they come back for that? I don't like being pushed. Don't push me. It's like the little, I don't know, kiosk or whatever, the little shelves that are right by the register when you're trying to check out of the grocery store or any convenience store. I feel like you pushing me. Like if I wanted gum, I would have got gum back there. If I wanted a candy bar, I would have hit the candy aisle. You put all this stuff right here by the register and I feel like you're shoving it in my face and telling me bye. I just don't like it. Sorry.
4-minute clip. Ari Lennox was on there. 3-minute clip. You'll notice there's no clip on here that is like longer than 5 minutes except the pure audio of the show. Their fans are upset. Now, for those people, come on over here. We got you. Come on. Jill got you and I got you. But
so yeah, like people are going to be upset. And I don't want to spend too much time on this and harp on this, but I do want to say this. You have to start asking the question, is the short-term gain worth the long-term pain? Because, okay, they get this contract from Netflix. From what I understand, Netflix usually pays people up front. So they're like, we're paying you this. You produce the content for the rest of the year. But then you don't even know if they're going to renew the contract. Netflix be like this sometimes, okay? I'm just like, so their numbers have gone down. Shit has hit the fan because people don't like that they made a change. And there are going to be changes made. Like I make changes sometimes on my show or whatever. I don't make those kind of changes. I don't make the changes that's like, you can't watch this unless you pay for it. Yeah, I don't do that. So I think that I would say no. Sometimes that short-term gain isn't worth it. I mean, Charlemagne's, he doing just fine financially. Charlemagne's good. I can't speak for the rest of them. I don't know. But Netflix is not consistent. Netflix has also been known, like I told you, to cancel contracts. So what happens if Netflix decides not to renew the contract? Then it's like you got to go back to YouTube. And then it's like you're starting all over again. I don't know. The best advice that I could give for this is just remain independent. I think it's weird. Netflix has podcasts now. It's just weird. I don't watch them when I watch Netflix because that's not what I sit down to look at on Netflix. So I don't know. But it makes me wonder if Amazon Prime or Hulu or others are going to start doing the same thing. What do you think? Let's get to some of the comments here, ladies and gents. And we have one more story for you. Eric, can we go to the last part of Type B and C? Thank you. Stay Safe said, I love Netflix and chill, not so much nowadays. Yeah. Thank you, Eric. Everybody hit the like, but what is this? Erika tight leather pants Kirk. Oh boy, who is this? Everybody hit the like button. Okay. Thank you for this one as well. Coach Colin wants to come on your show. Okay. Tell him, can he send me an email? My email address is in my description of my videos. Thanks. Thank you, Wandy. The male Rothschild could marry anyone. Female Rothschilds had to marry another Rothschild, FYI. Nowadays, they don't keep the name. It's a target. Wandy knows what's up. So Lap says, at least when Netflix, you don't get the ads in the middle of a live stream like YouTube. That's true. But creators can turn that off. I have it turned off on mine, by the way. Shout out to Kimi, who's been a member for 16 months. Shout out to Sabby for not trying to milk her audience dry. Appreciate that she doesn't do Patreon and reads non-super chats. She's a real one. Yeah. Well, I have Patreon, but I don't do Patreon only videos. I just, Skylar said, girl, thank you for not doing member only videos because everybody ain't got it like me. Everyone and everything is nickel and diming us already. We legit appreciate you. Thank you. Okay. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I just can't, you know? Okay. We got to get into this. We told you, didn't we? Didn't we tell you that they were promising something bigger and better for Erika Kirk? There was an announcement made from Donald Trump. There's also another one I got to show you. That's been hitting the interwebs about Erika and her political future or possible political future. This is all surprising considering the fact that Candace just said that she found out that apparently they were trying to cancel events with Erika because there's been so much backlash. Listen to this.
I have it on very good authority that they have had to cancel events that Erika was intended to speak at because there has been a backlash. There's been a backlash, and there should be a backlash when you are not being told the truth and you are being lied to, and the lies seem to be pathological, small lies, big lies. You should not welcome that, and you least of all should welcome this emotional manipulation that comes with, well, you kind of have to accept the lies that you're being told because her husband was Charlie Kirk. That's her Charlie. That is absolutely ridiculous.
So Candace said here that I guess apparently there's been some backlash and they wanted to, I guess, pull Erika to pull back on these speaking events, which I can understand. But apparently that's not happening now because Donald Trump just made an announcement and this really blew me through the water. I said, there is no way this is real. But it was. It was. Trump appoints Erika Kirk to the Air Force Academy Board. I said, you cannot be for reals. But they are for reals. So here we go. This is the same position that Charlie Kirk had before he died. And we know about Erika's family and the military background. We've gone through all that on the show. We don't need to revisit all that again. But we've gone through all of that. And then they just scoot her into that position. Go recruit for the Army, for the Air Force. Now, again, like, I mean, I was told that this is someone that's supposed to be in mourning. I mean, I was told that people aren't supposed to talk about this, aren't supposed to talk about, you know, what Erika's lies and the military and all this kind of stuff. We were not supposed to talk about this because she's in mourning. But she's been everywhere. Like, I've never seen anyone in mourning do all these things. And I'm like, how is this even possible? She's done interviews. speaking engagements. She endorsed J.D. Vance for president. We'll come back to that one. And now she's on this Air Force Academy board. Don't forget, she had that Heaven Come Soon or whatever tour going around the country. And here we go. Just like that, Donald Trump puts her in that position. It was just handed to her. And people say, well, she's the CEO of Turning Point now, so that's why it's given to her or whatever. I'm like, but I thought she's supposed to be in mourning, though. Talk to me, people. Talk. Right? So people say, why isn't she spending time like with her kids? I don't know. These are good questions. But I mean, like, you would think you would take this time to not be in the public spotlight, to take a step back and to spend time with your family. But this is where we're at now. Sliding right on in. Project Constitution said Trump quietly just appointed Erika Kirk to the Air Force Board of Visitors, meanwhile neglecting her and Charlie's children for fame. I mean, it's just, they announced it. Check this out.
Here's a story you'll see first here on KOAA. Erika Kirk, the widow of the late conservative activist Charlie Kirk, appears to have been appointed to the Air Force Academy Board of Visitors by President Trump. Her name was quietly added over the weekend to the board's website. The congressionally mandated Board of Visitors serves as a type of oversight committee that makes recommendations about the Air Force Academy to the Defense Secretary. Charlie Kirk was appointed by President Trump a year ago and attended an August meeting just weeks before his assassination. Erika Kirk's appointment comes as the Board of Visitors might be taking up the issue of recommending Charlie Kirk for an honorary degree, a controversial move that brought massive blowback in October when the Academy's Association of Graduates considered the measure. The association ultimately withdrew the motion and then in February recommended that the Board of Visitors consider it instead. Here's a story you'll see.
So what? And Project Constitution said, like, I just can't get over this. Erika Kirk, widow of assassinated conservative powerhouse Charlie Kirk, just got quietly slotted. And it's true. Even the reporter said quietly. No fanfare, no announcement, just sneakily her name popping up on the board's website over the weekend. Wild, huh? Really wild. But there's something else. We got some other things, other announcements to show you. Okay, this one. Erika Kirk comes to town for an announcement with Governor Sanders. So check this out, guys. I think someone in the audience predicted this one already. Dab away your fake tears. Erika Kirk is coming to town, Arkansas. The widow of slain conservative icon Charlie Kirk will join Governor Sarah Sanders, oh Lord, for an announcement about expanding Turning Point USA's right-wing indoctrination among Arkansas youth. Highlight this here for a second. The indoctrination here. Okay. So she is now a part of the Air Force board. And now she's partnering with Sarah Sanders to indoctrinate Arkansas's youth. This was that whole thing they were talking about, like pushing like turning points into the schools and making it part of the curriculum. But I thought she's supposed to be in more. I thought she was grieving. I don't understand this. But look, it's going hand in hand because now you got the Air Force Academy and you got the high school students. So you got the high school students and you got the potential and the current college students. Do you see how Turning Point USA, how they found ways to basically get into the education sector? They're really trying to get this to be part of the curriculum. Turning Point USA in Arkansas to announce statewide Club America partnership. Here we go. It's the headline of a press release about Wednesday's 1 p.m. event at the governor's mansion. We'll have to wait until then to find out what's in the fine print. But it sounds like Arkansas is following Texas's lead. In December, Texas Governor Abbott not only announced plans to establish a Turning Point USA presence in all high schools in the state, but also to punish anyone who got in the way. What the hell is going on? So to me, it just seems like this is all about making money, but also this makes me wonder what this is going to have to do with geopolitics, because remember, a lot of younger people don't support Israel now. They're trying to get to them early. But she's supposed to be grieving. Like, I don't know. And then the wildest of them all is this one. Apparently, it was said here that Charlie would have wanted Erika Kirk to be president. What? You can see so yourself. Black Beth Dutton said, watching Andrew Colvett and Tyler Boyer tell people what Charlie wanted, and the only evidence is he told me. Watch this. There's 2 clips. Let's watch this one first.
Putting all that back in one person, but Erika is the beating heart and the spiritual center and the life force. You could just feel it. And, you know, Chris, I hope your audience knows this was exactly what Charlie wanted. He had made plans because he was, you know, getting death threats all the time. He knew that there were people that wanted to hurt him. And obviously we took precautions in that way, but he was prepared. And he told me personally, he told members of the board and other executives at the organization that should something happen, that Erika was going to be the person that took over. And he knew, I mean, he started dating Erika when his life was already a little crazy. Well, it was a fraction of what it became, obviously, as the years went on. But he knew Erika could handle this type of lifestyle. He knew that she had it in her, and she was incredibly strong and fierce and true and good. And so Erika, she, you know, obviously she wasn't wanting this to happen. She wasn't prepared for this to happen, but in another way, Charlie knew she could handle it.
So according to Andrew Colvett, he said this is what Charlie Kirk wanted. He would have wanted her to do this. And it's interesting. I mean, Charlie Kirk isn't alive, so we don't really know. And this is just hearsay at this point. But this part is the craziest. Can I get to the next one? Let's go to the next one here.
You see politics in her future?
Listen, pay attention, guys. I'm telling you, it's coming. I've been telling you.
See politics in her future down the road?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I had conversations with Charlie about that. So he was like, man, Erika could be so much bigger and better than me at almost everything. We laugh all the time about it because people were like, Charlie was going to be president someday. He believed firmly that Erika was going to be president someday. And so it's a beautiful thing. He believed firmly that Erika was going to be president someday.
Oh, really now? So apparently, according to him, he believed that, or Charlie Kirk believed that Erika was going to be president someday. Remember we were talking about her political aspirations, that I thought that was there? Yeah. Yeah. Check this out, guys. Speaking of president someday. Someone sent this to me. Why is there a Vance Kirk 2028 website launching soon? Now, I don't know who made this website. I don't know. Could have been Charlie Kirk at the time. I don't know. But Charlie Kirk is no longer alive, and it's been about, 6 months now? Yeah. So you would have thought someone would have taken this down if this wasn't the case. It says Vance Kirk 2028 launching soon. Drop us a line. 2025 is the copyright. So we don't know if this was made before or after, but it's not taken down. And it almost makes you wonder if someone is trying to send a message. I think Charlie Kirk was supposed to be JD Vance's running mate, from what I'm understanding. But Charlie Kirk is no longer alive. So it makes me wonder about Erika Kirk. And I don't know, but let's go back. Let's remember who publicly came out and endorsed JD Vance. It was Erika Kirk. She did so at America Fest, just like that. Publicly. No one else had. And she said, well, he was my husband's friend, so I'm endorsing him. I think that Erika has political aspirations. I really do. They have this saying that if you can't make it in Hollywood, a lot of times people will do politics instead. And we all know Erika was trying to make it in Hollywood. We all know, we saw casting tapes that she was on, etc. She was, Miss Arizona and everything. Politics would be next, I would assume. And now you see that she just got appointed to the Air Force Academy Board. But we were told that she's in mourning, like she's supposed to be grieving. But you always out in the public. I don't understand. It's one speaking event after another, after another, after another. They're putting her right out in the front. And I have been saying this for quite some time. They're putting her out in the front. And I believe that's because they're preparing her for something much bigger beyond this Air Force Academy board. Whether it's vice president, president, whatever, they're preparing her for something else. So everyone stay tuned to what is happening here. Because you notice, like, while we were all focused on the Iran war and the Epstein files, you notice that her name just happened to just get added there right under our nose. So pay attention to that. But shit just hit the fan. All right, ladies and gents, that is it for me tonight. I think Eric's going to close out the... Oh, okay. Okay, be easy. Yeah, just email me or email me because DMs are a mess. Just email me. Thank you. Okay. All right. Eric is going to close out the show and finish up the super chats. And
everybody wants to be the boss, huh? Erika getting in.
Yeah. And Scott and I are going to
piece of it.
Yeah, Scott and I are going to reschedule, so hopefully you'll be able to see Scott here again soon.
All right.
And that is that. All right, guys, that's it for me tonight. I will see you guys Thursday evening, and have a good night.
All right. I'll say all right 3 more times, right? We'll let Sabby go on with her night here, and I'm going to close out, read a few super chats, think of a few things to say. One thing is that, like the earlier story with the Rothschilds, and also earlier someone had put in the in the chat about Trump versus Obama, and Democratic presidents versus Republican presidents. And what I always get into with that is that you really need to, of course, follow that money, right? MCDS, follow the money, the corruption, have demands and lead to solutions, MCDS. But you want to look at the money, and you want to look at interest. And what it makes me think of, if you go to the old 11demands.org, is one of the articles from the Substack. So if you scroll down, there's a section on Substack posts, and there are highlighted ones that if you haven't read them, I'd recommend them. These are kind of the core posts around 11 demands and MCDS. And there's one called 2 sets of interests. And, I won't read the whole thing out now, but it's about how, it has kind of this famous feudalism chart, which I actually did a little modification on to put these billionaires at the top. And so whether you're talking about Rothschilds or whether you're talking about the big bankers and the billionaires of today, they're the ones calling the shots. And the thing to just always keep in mind is two sets of interests, right? There's the interests of the top 0.1%, that billionaire class, and there's the interests of the 99%. And I think when you're looking at what presidents do, what, how media operates, how the whole system operates, you look at who's funding it, who's in charge, and whose interests are they working in. And then, of course, we get to government and Congress. And the core problem I would submit is they're working in the billionaire interests and not in our interests. Why is that happening? Because of the corruption, right? So we're going down MCDS, the money from the billionaires, the corruption. And then what we need as the 99% to do in reaction to that is to have clear demands, the D part of it, and those demands will lead to solutions. So I just wanted to throw that out there, is that kind of occurred to me as these, stories are going through in these discussions. If that sounds interesting, and if feel free to check out that article and more on the old 11demands.org and see what we got. As always, we'll be talking more about that on the channel. All right, looking at what we got and queued up super chats. Just checking what's on the board here. I'm going to read a few of these off as we close out for the day. And as you probably noticed, I'm not doing a super chat. We're not doing the Zoom call-in hangout today. It doesn't work with Sabrina's schedule, but we'll probably do it on Thursday. Next live show Thursday at 8. Thanks for this super chat from Fly Away Forever, who says, have you seen this Vance Kirk 2028? Yeah, that website that she brought up. I mean, it is always tricky with a site like that. It would be interesting to see who actually put it up, because in theory, anyone can put up a website if the domain name isn't already taken. Then anyone can make a site with that name. Back when it all started, I made a site called 11 Demands, and now it's the 11 Demands site. Thanks for the super chat, Erika. Erika, I know she said this one earlier. Tight leather pants, Kirk. Who says, I think Erika's kids are fake. That's a good question. Thanks for the super sticker, Regine Jolly. Appreciate that. And also appreciate this sticker, super sticker from Aptula Peace. Amtula Peace. Anyways, thanks for the super sticker. And a shout out to Ecop Music. Echo Pop Music. Got it. It's tough with these usernames, which is all that that YouTube gives us now, because that's how YouTube is. Erika Kirk, be like, what is up, Cleveland? Are you ready to grieve? Interesting, yeah. And the Netflix story with Breakfast Club, shifting their stuff to Netflix, and it also brings up how YouTube operates. These platforms and these huge companies, right, hold all the power. YouTube, Twitter X, even Netflix, they have algorithms that they tweak, and they're all about making money. The big thing on YouTube is they want everything to be advertiser friendly is their big thing. So they don't really like the political stuff. They'll do it if it's mainstream, if it's more corporate, that's what they'll push. One of the things that's kind of, I don't know if you'd call it frightening or just whatever you call it, is that YouTube has the power to make any show become like super popular, or to crush any show. All that has to happen, and it's the same on Twitter X with tweets. There are reasons why some things go viral and some don't. These algorithms choose what's put in front of the average viewer, just viewers in general, whether it's YouTube or Twitter X or any of these things. And if you tweak the algorithm to look for certain things, avoid certain things, then that has a huge effect. So if YouTube suddenly tweaked their algorithm to like what's on the Sabby Sabs show and started promoting it in 10 million, 100 million viewers, a billion viewers feeds, then that show, whether it was Sabby Sabs or another show, would blow up and become hugely popular. If YouTube decides to do the opposite, then that show will lose viewership, and we even see them sometimes cull subscribers. And maybe they're up to nefarious stuff. Maybe they're just trying to make money or some combination of it. The real problem is that these channels are not transparent, right? They're just run by ownership, which essentially comes down to that billionaire 0.1% class, and they run things for their benefit. What could we do about that? What you can do about that is, first thing is break up huge corporations. You could, you can, if it's decided that a platform like YouTube is something that's really too big to break up, or that's part of how it operates, then what you can do is you can change it essentially into a public utility. You could make its governance become democratically run by the members or even the users. These things are fixable. And if you look at 11demands.org and the demands list, also those things are solutions as well as demands. And so things like what I listed can go a long ways towards fixing these things. But it always comes back to government, really. None of this stuff happens as long as the government works for the billionaires, works for the mega corporations, which are really the same thing. Whether it's the war machine, the bankers, Silicon Valley, they have their interests. We need a government that works for the 99% in their interest. And those are the things we need to demand. But anyways, I always try to connect those dots. I got one more here in the queue. Thanks for this super chat from Kevin Wayne, who says Kamala has to have someone she can debate against. There you go. So you're looking for the Kamala Erika Kirk debate. That would be of interest, shall we say. All right. I think I've jabbered enough here for tonight. Thanks all for watching and for your chats and your super chats. It's always a good conversation here. You can catch the show next live on this coming Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we'll see what we have for you then. It's always something good. But until then, have a good night. Keep up that fight. And we'll see you all then and next time. Thanks, everyone.